Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ebbenflow podcast, episode 22. Today, I'm talking about my first 45 days in San Francisco. Um, so I moved there it's less than, I was just counting on the calendar how long I was out in that area. It was 45 days, but it's more like maybe 35, a little bit less, because I went out there for vacation with my parents. I went there for a couple days, and then we went to Napa for wine tasting, and then we went to Lake Tahoe, Yosemite, and some of Nevada, Virginia City, for a week, and then we came back to San Francisco, and my parents dropped me off there, and because I don't have to go back to Philly because I don't have to report to any office there. I have a remote job, so I can just stay because it doesn't matter where I work anymore, which is nice. And that was I had gotten this remote job, but my parents were already planning to go to San Francisco, and I had always wanted to go to the West Coast. I've lived in Philly my whole life, and so I saw this as the perfect opportunity to do some exploring in California and then just stay. So, yeah, booked a 1 month Airbnb in Nob Hill. So let's where should we start? I don't know. I was gonna start with the neighborhoods of San Francisco. So there's the ones that I can remember, and I lived there for a month, so it gives me a lot of time to recognize the neighborhoods, get to know some of them. Let's start with Nob Hill, the neighborhood that my Airbnb was in. Nob Hill is maybe like a 25-minute walk from downtown, or downtown is like pretty much where all the skyscrapers are, and like it's like called like the financial district. Um, and apparently, that downtown area is not very lively. It's not very popping as it once was because obviously before COVID, like all of the skyscrapers had workers going into them. It was probably like a bustling finance uh, environment. And then COVID happened, or not just finance, but tech as well. Like San Francisco, it's one of the home of the leading edge of all technology. So um, you had all those workers reporting to the offices, and then COVID happened, and then everybody went remote. And then if people are similar to me, they'll realize that working remote's awesome, and there's really no need to go back to the office. So it depends on the company of whether your management wanted you back in the office, or if management was cool enough to realize that no one needed to be there and we could still just be as productive, but we can just do it from the comfort of our own homes. Like, so it's either your company was chill about it or they were afraid of wasting rental space. And so they just were calling everyone back. Um, so basically, that COVID turned the downtown area into like a ghost town. Apparently, I heard from a lot of people that I was talking to during my time there. Um, but yeah, Nob Hill. That's funny. I said I would talk about it, and then I started talking about downtown. Back to Nob Hill. Um, I lived on the corner of Leavenworth and Sacramento, and it was fucking perfect because there was a small family owned grocery store literally 1 block away from my Airbnb. So grocery shopping was never a huge deal because if I just needed anything, it's it's a 2 minute walk, not even like it was so awesome to have, and that grocery store had almost everything I needed. They had raw milk. They had like the cereal that I like. They had all the Mountain Valley water, organic fruits, and the one thing I didn't get was meat there. I don't know. Because I'd asked the guy working the meat counter or the butcher or whatever if anything was organic and grass fed, and he was like, no, like most of this stuff is not grass fed. So I was like, all right, that's okay, and it's okay because down a couple more blocks was a Trader Joe's on California Street, um, and so anything I couldn't get at it's called Labu Market. So anything I couldn't get at Labu was I just went to Trader Joe's. Um, although Trader Joe's sometimes didn't have 100% grass fed steak. They had it the first time I went on the first week, but then they never had it. Like they didn't have it again the rest of the month that I was there. So luckily, a few more blocks down from the Trader Joe's. So now we're talking maybe like a 7, 8 minute walk, which still is freaking easy as hell. Um, Whole Foods almost always had organic grass fed like ribeye steak and organic grass fed ground beef. I think there was like one instance where they didn't have it, but overall, my meat needs were satisfied for the month there. Um, and so that was all the grocery parts of it. What else was there in Nob Hill for me? So a couple blocks from my Airbnb was this street that it's like sort of escaping me now, but it had like a whole strip of stores on it. The street name may come back to me, but all like the cafes, restaurants, little businesses were all there. There was a great donut shop, Bob's Donuts. That was probably the best donuts I've had in San Francisco. Um, but never the best donuts I've ever had. The best donuts I've ever had is Yum Yum Bake Shops in Colmar, Pennsylvania, which is near my parents' house. Don't think anything will ever top that place. But so there was a yoga studio on this street, and the yoga studio is called Funky Door, and I have been into yoga for a couple years now, and so I'm a fan of it. And I like hot yoga too. Hot yoga is fucking awesome because I love sweating, and you get a great sweat in with hot yoga. So I just one time in my Airbnb, I Googled yoga studio near me. First one that popped up was Funky Door. I saw that it was a few blocks down, and so I booked it. I didn't book it. I just like walked in to sign up for a class, and when I got there, the guy at the counter was like, "Hey man, we're doing a 2 month unlimited classes, $99." And I was like, "Oh, that sounds great. I mean, I'm only going to be here for a month though." And then he said, "Well, you don't even have to. I mean, you don't even have to be use the 2 months because once you go to 3 classes, that unlimited pass pays for itself because walk-ins were $35 and the pass was $99. So if you go 3 times, you've covered your pass, and then after that, it's all just quote unquote profit." So I was like, all right, no, that sounds really interesting. Let's. But the class was about to start, so I just went in the class, and Funky Door Yoga is the coolest yoga studio I've ever been to because it incorporates a rave like environment to its studio. Um, so outside of like, there's like hallways where you can go to the bathroom, you can get water. There's like a locker room where you can get changed, and but then there's this whole like inner chamber of the building, and in that inner chamber is the studio, and there's like a raised platform on one side of the room where the instructor is, and underneath that platform are two subwoofers, and then all on like each corner of the room are speakers. So it's like literally like set up like a club, and they're playing EDM, obviously, because EDM and yoga, fitness, Pilates. I mentioned Pilates because this place also does Pilates, and but it was also the hottest studio I've ever been to. Like, I mean, I went to Monarch Yoga in Philly, and they did heated classes, but it just never felt that intense until I came to Funky Door. Um, so I think the first class I might have done there actually was a weighted Pilates class, and I'd done Pilates like once, a heated Pilates. So, super new experience for me because, yeah, well, and the Pilates I did before wasn't weighted, so I had little like 8 pound free weights, and then basically I went through a heated weighted Pilates, and that kicked my fucking ass. Like, I thought I was gonna die at a few points. I was sweating so much. I was fatigued as hell. I thought I was gonna faint. But I made it through. The instructor was awesome. They were playing like EDM for the class, and like the bass was hitting hard because of those two subwoofers, and it was just a fucking awesome experience. And I got a fantastic sweat in, and I just fell in love like with everything a part of it. So um, I I went back a good amount of times, probably like 5 or 6 times throughout the rest of the month, because anytime I needed a good sweat, a good workout, building strength, like um, I just would go there. And so that was an awesome part. That was a really fun, cool part of San Francisco. Another cool thing in terms of fitness is Animal Flow. So, when literally my first day in San Francisco, when I after my parents dropped me off, I was taking a walk at Tunnel Tops Park, and I saw this group of people all wearing the same clothes, and they were all like doing these coordinated movements on the grass. And I just was curious, so I watched a little bit, and saw that they were doing Animal Flow. And Animal Flow is something that I started to do in June of this year, just through YouTube videos. Um, and I was really curious, and I wanted to go up to them and introduce myself. Then I went through some fear of judgment and perception in my head, like, why, like this, why are you going up to this group, and like they look so coordinated, like how could they be accepting of you? All that bullshit thought type shit. um but the part of me that was like, you got to put yourself out there. You don't know, you really don't know if they're going to accept you or not. There's only one way to find out, and that's to go up to them. So I went up to them, introduced myself, told them that I loved Animal Flow, and the whole group was very accepting of me. And the two instructors that were leading this were so chill, in fact, that I still talk to them this day. I connected with them very well. So shout out Neno and Taewoo. So Neno and Taewoo run their own separate classes in San Francisco, but they came together on that day to do a coordinated flow, and um, it was it was so cool. Like Neno gave me a hoodie to take a picture with them. He also gave me a keychain that I still have in my backpack now. And then both Neno and Taewoo invited me to their classes, and I went to both of their classes throughout the month, and I connected with them very well. Learning Learned so much about animal flow during my time with them. I'm just thinking now that it's really cool. I haven't really like talked about my experience in San Francisco like this out loud ever. So the fact that I'm doing it here and it's on my podcast is pretty fucking cool. And I am getting those feelings back of how it felt to connect with Neno Tewu, everyone that does Animal Flow in San Francisco, and it's got a little emotional actually, and it's just really special community that I was super glad to be a part of, and I just I the more I did Animal Flow and learned different moves, the more I liked doing it. So I would like to continue doing that. Um, what else? Next thing that came to my mind. See, this is all in typical Ebbenflow fashion, where I don't have a scheduled anything. I didn't prepare at all. I just started saying words, and here we are. So the weather. I went there. Apparently, I went there in like the best month that you could possibly visit San Francisco, which is September. And the way the weather works there is it's like September and October are the summer months there, and then like it's pretty chilly the rest of the year. If I'm not mistaken. Um, and also because of the diverse like elevation of the city is very hilly, um, and it's on a peninsula next to the ocean that different neighborhoods within San Francisco have different weather. Um, well, because weather coming in from the ocean affects neighborhoods on one side of the hill, and then the hill changes the weather, and then the neighborhoods on the other side of the hill don't get the same weather. So, um, Nob Hill had a good variety of weather, and it was sunny at times, and then it was foggy too. Um, it's more inland. It's than something like the outer Richmond or Ocean Beach area, which are like right by the Pacific Ocean. But then there are neighborhoods that are like a little bit south and more inland, like the Mission, and the Mission is one of the warmer neighborhoods. So different different neighborhoods, different weather. Um, Something else is the some of the houses. I mean, the houses in like San Francisco, in my area, Nob Hill, and then go a little bit west to Pacific Heights, and um, the Sea Cliff uh, area. Like it's crazy. Those houses are nutty. Obviously, there's a contrast of like you can go to like Tenderloin. That's a neighborhood that reminds me of Kensington, where people are just hanging out. It's homeless, mentally ill people are hanging out. So obviously, like the environment there doesn't necessarily reflect like a high standard of living there. But I mean, just walking around like, but Nob Hill is like really really awesome. A lot of cool architecture. The whole architecture of San Francisco is just incredible. the different kinds of buildings you see. But when you go to Pacific Heights, like those houses are fucking crazy. They're mansions. They're like castles, and there's tennis courts in some at the back of them, but you can't even see the tennis courts. But um, and then there's just like I don't know what you have to do for work in order to get. You have to be like a high level position in a great company to like want to, or own your own business and work really hard to get that stuff. um, so that was like mind blowing to see, and then especially like the houses on Seacliff where you one side of your house you're literally looking out at the Pacific Ocean and the Golden Gate Bridge. Like that's fucking crazy. um, so yeah, another thing I want to talk about is the nightlife, the clubs there. I went to some pretty freaking awesome clubs. First one is 1015 Folsom. That's one I knew about for years before going to San Francisco, and a club that I've always wanted to check out. And that was the club I went to first, my first weekend there. I saw a Luna there, and she was pretty good. I wasn't too particularly vibing with the first part of her set, but the second half definitely picked it up. That club closes at 3. There's a disco ball in the middle of the dance floor that's really nice. They got some nice lasers on like all four corners of the club. It's a good time, and I would go back to see somebody else there. I also went to the Midway in San Francisco. It's like Pier 80, and that was a really fun venue. I call it venue because there's two stages. It's like a bigger stage and a smaller stage, and both times I went, you could buy tickets to one show, and then they would let you roam between the two shows, which was like super cool. So I would just flip back and forth between the stages, and just see what the different vibes were of who was playing. The Midway happened to be at the same location as, or very near, Portola Festival, which is the music festival that's on Pier 80 as well, that I capped my whole San Francisco experience off with. The last weekend, literally the last 2 days I was there, I went to Portola Festival, and that was amazing. The lineup at Portola was fucking crazy. Just had like so many good artists, and I saw that the tickets were available probably like as soon as I booked my Airbnb. I booked tickets to the festival because the lineup was just too good. I mean, like Rufus Du Sol, Disclosure, Bicep, Sammy Vergi, Honey Dijon, Nala, um, Joy Orbison, like kind of like this interesting niche of EDM that they curated was like so cool. Um, and like the warehouse stage was my favorite. Um, it's just like, yeah, like huge warehouse rave, a lot of lasers. It's like a different world being in there. It was so much fun. Um, another cool thing was there were driverless taxis, Waymos they're called, and it was really interesting to see them. Like when I first got there, like what the fuck? There's no driver there, and then people are just you summon it through an app. So we live in a world now where you can just tap on this glass rectangle that's in your pocket like a few times, and then like a robot car shows up and takes you wherever you want to go. So that's the times that we're living in, and Part of me definitely was like kind of hesitant to take one at first, but then eventually the tech nerd in me took over, and I wanted to check it out because it's really cool. It's a robot taxi, like that's new, and would want to see what it's about. So eventually, I used a Waymo once. It was only a little bit more expensive than an Uber or a Lyft would be, which was surprising. And so yeah, I downloaded the app and just used Apple Pay to summon one, and it was like a 10-minute drive, but it was definitely scary at first. Like, holy shit, there's like a robot that's controlling this car, this vehicle. Like, I'm the only human in this, and I'm not driving it. But I got used to it pretty quickly, and it was really good. It was like it was a human driving the car, the way it was behaving. And later on in the month, I saw a Waymo was approaching a traffic light. The light turned yellow before it crossed, and it still went. It went on a yellow, which is crazy because humans will do that. And you would expect, oh no, it's a yellow, like a robot's not gonna break the rules or whatever. No, like it went through because sometimes it's safer to continue through a yellow than to brake really hard. So, I mean, that was really cool, and that just to me it showed like the technical prowess of San Francisco, and that it's kind of leading, really, like leading everything, almost everything. What else? The food. Yeah, the food there was freaking awesome. Um, I can't remember every restaurant I went to, but I mean, I went to some great Italian places there, some great Mediterranean. Um, Seafood. The seafood, I crossed the Golden Gate Bridge to go over to Marin, I believe, to get seafood there. Um, I got In and Out for the first time, so that was pretty cool. That's like the classic thing to do when you go to the West Coast. So, and it was pretty good. It was pretty good. A lot of people say five or Five Guys In and Out is overrated. Doesn't live up to the hype. I mean, it's not like a mind blowing burger, but it's really good, and I would definitely recommend it. Um, they have Ghirardelli's chocolate factory there. I think the first Ghirardelli store was open there, so you can get a lot of Ghirardelli's chocolate. Even though I kind of wouldn't recommend that anymore because they use processed like soy in their products. I believe you're better off getting like a HU brand chocolate, or just something that doesn't have the bullshit in it. Um, okay, what else? The nature. Um, Presidio. The Presidio is fucking lit. That's the park that you go through to get to the Golden Gate Bridge, and I didn't explore it like extensively, the Presidio, but when I was there, it was beautiful. Um, Lots of diverse plants and greens, and lots of cool views. There's a hike called Land's End at towards the western side of the park, where you can see the sunset, like you can see it set below the ocean, and it's just so fucking beautiful. It's a fantastic hike. Would recommend Land's End. Um, and Golden Gate Park. Golden Gate Park is fucking beautiful. Like the when I went the one day, it felt like heaven on earth. Honestly, I went like during called it kind of golden hour, and so the light was just hitting everything perfectly. There was a beautiful flower fields. People were just relaxed, chilling, enjoying their day. I think it was a Saturday. Um, and it's just a very, very beautiful park. A lot of uh, different parts of the park because the park is huge. Um, so yeah, would recommend Golden Gate Park. Another aspect, the people. How are the people in San Francisco? Everyone there that I met, most chill, most relaxed kind of people I've ever met. And I would say it's because maybe it's because maybe it's partially biased because I was there at the best time of the year to visit. But I mean, everyone there was just so chill in California. I think it's different here than in the East Coast because I don't know, like there's more access to sunshine and good times and nature, and I'm talking about mid to South California. Haven't been up north really. Like I mean Tahoe is I guess you would say that's north, but um, people in California are fucking awesome, and they're just chill. Um, it's a different pace than the East Coast for sure, and it's my kind of pace. I like it. Um, what else? Off the top of my head, um, other touristy things I did was like obviously crossing the Golden Gate Bridge. That was an experience. The first time I did it was on a hop on, hop off bus. So I was on the second deck as we were crossing, and it was really foggy and it was freaking cold. It was cold. Like I'm so glad I was wearing my hoodie. Um, Definitely, if you're gonna visit San Francisco, bring layers because it does get chilly at night. Um, what else? The overall views too. Just like walking around San Francisco, like you'll just see an intersection and then you'll just get this beautiful view of the bay or of the Oakland Bridge or just if you're looking south, like the Sutro Tower. Like it's just incredible views. I mean, I've never seen a city quite like San Francisco. It's because I'm in LA now, and I hiked to the Griffin Observatory and you get to see the skyline. And you look at the LA skyline and it's like, oh, that's fucking beautiful. But it's flat. Like every city is kind of flat. Like San Francisco, it's not flat. There's hills everywhere. So you can see just how diverse the elevation and the terrain is. It's really, really awesome and special. So, yeah. I feel like oh, in terms of like new, I don't know, just how open the city is to doing things. Like, I went to Diplo's Run Club one weekend, which is basically it's a 5K and then a rave after. Like, that was so cool. That was an amazing experience. And I just feel like you don't get that in other cities. Like, I feel like San Francisco is open to doing unconventional things. Well, like Skrillex and Fred again playing at the Civic Center Plaza. Um, that was really cool. Like right in front of City Hall, they're playing. So, like having a rave. Um, Cost of living, maybe touch on that. It's fucking expensive as hell to live in San Francisco. Um, if you want to live in San Francisco, maybe get a roommate because it's the rent is ridiculous and the cost of groceries, the cost of gas, everything is just like really inflated there. It kind of sucks, honestly, but I mean, that's the one thing about it is that I wish it was less expensive. But I mean, just like being there, man, it's just awesome. I had such an amazing experience living there. Um, Got to come back for sure. And yeah, I think that's it on this episode. You know, spent a month there, got a lot out of it. So about less than 35 days. Now this is about a 35-minute episode, so it's like 1 minute per day almost. But yeah, let me know if you like these kinds of episodes. Like, I feel like I might do more of travel related episodes because it's cool to share my experiences about where I'm traveling. Even though I feel like a lot of people do that already, it's like it's my spin on it, and no one else is me. So if you want to hear Ben's take on some sort of travel experience, then the podcast and my Instagram are probably good places to check out. But yeah, I think I'm gonna do a podcast on LA once my time here is over, as well, and then a podcast on San Diego, and then maybe a podcast on just California as an entirety when I get back to Philly. So yeah, that's it for this episode. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.